Friendly reminder, this is a movie that has actually scared people to death. It's adapted from Stephen King's novel of the same name, The Monkey, and produced by James Wan. Upon its release, it was hailed as the craziest horror film of the year. If you're interested, join us to watch it, fellow thrill seekers. The story begins with a blood-soaked pilot hurriedly entering an antique shop. He places a toy monkey on the counter and asks the owner if he's interested in buying it. The owner takes one look and is about to refuse, even pointing out that the monkey's drumsticks are stuck, which affects its ability to beat the snare drum below. To his surprise, the pilot suddenly, with lingering fear, tells him that this monkey is no ordinary toy. Every time it beats the snare drum, it takes a person's life. But the shop owner scoffs at this, thinking the pilot is trying to trick him. Just then, the monkey's drumsticks suddenly come down and strike the drum. Seeing this, the pilot was so frightened that he immediately backed away, but the shop owner just thought he was making a fuss over nothing. Little did he know, at that moment, a jerry on the shelf happened to bite through a hemp rope, causing a nearby crossbow to instantly shoot an arrow through the shop owner's abdomen. And as the monkey beat the snare drum again, the crossbow bolt automatically returned to its original position, pulling out the shop owner's intestines along with it. Seeing the monstrous monkey toy kill another person in the blink of an eye, the furious pilot decided to destroy the toy. He grabbed a flamethrower from the shop, intending to burn the monkey toy to ashes in the alley. However, no matter how intense the heat, it couldn't harm the toy in the slightest. After this, the pilot mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind only his wife and their twin sons, who were just entering adolescence, to depend on each other. However, the younger twin, Hal, who was a good actor but had a weak personality, was often bullied by his older brother Bill. This eventually led him to fantasize about taking a bowling ball in the middle of the night and smashing his brother to death. Of course, this was just his imagination. Every time, Hal could only choose to silently endure it. One night, the two brothers discovered a beautifully crafted box among their father's belongings, and inside it was that strange toy monkey. As soon as Hal took out the monkey, Bill snatched it away in an instant. He twisted the wind-up key on the monkey, only to find that all it did was grin foolishly with its mouth wide open. Bill immediately lost interest and tossed it back to Hal. The next morning, because their mother had something come up unexpectedly, the two brothers had to go out with the nanny. But before getting in the car, Hal noticed that the toy monkey had somehow appeared on the seat. He mistakenly thought that his brother Bill had secretly brought it along, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Not long after, the nanny took them to a Japanese restaurant, planning to have a meal while watching the chef perform. But at that moment, the toy monkey, which had originally been sitting in the back seat, had somehow moved to the driver's seat and started beating its drum. At the same time, Hal suddenly felt a strange chill. Then he saw the chef, who was showing off his knife skills, suddenly slip and accidentally cut the nanny's neck. Worried that this accident might traumatize her two sons, their mother tried to comfort them by saying that everyone dies eventually, so it's better to enjoy life while you can. So after attending the nanny's funeral, the three of them danced together at home. But Hal always felt that the nanny's death was too suspicious, so that night, he quietly approached the monkey toy and questioned it about whether it had anything to do with the nanny's death. Unexpectedly, this scene was witnessed by Bill, who mistakenly thought his brother liked the ugly monkey toy and insisted that Hal say he wanted to marry the monkey. Hal originally didn't want to say such an embarrassing thing, but when he saw Bill raise his fist, he had no choice but to comply. But what Hal didn't expect was that the next day at school, Bill not only spread the word everywhere that he liked the monkey toy, but also brought classmates to throw half-eaten bananas at him. Humiliated, Hal went straight home and asked the monkey whether it really had the ability to kill. If it did, he hoped it could kill his brother Bill for him. After saying this, he wound up the toy, and sure enough, the monkey started beating its drum as expected. But what Hal didn't expect was that the monkey toy didn't follow his command to kill his brother. Instead, it set its sights on their mother. As a result, when Bill came home from school, he happened to witness his mother, who was preparing dinner in the kitchen, die on the spot. According to the doctor's diagnosis, their mother died from an extremely rare disease. But only Hal knew that all of this was connected to that eerie monkey. In order to eliminate this source of disaster, Hal decided to dismember the monkey with a kitchen knife right then and there. But as soon as he chopped off one of the monkey's arms, he was shocked to see that the toy monkey actually bled. This only made Hal even more terrified. So he acted decisively and chopped the monkey toy into pieces. Since there was no one to look after the Roger brothers, they were sent to their uncle's house. But that night, Bill noticed the streetlights outside suddenly flickering. When he approached the window to look out, he happened to see the eyes of the monkey toy. Frightened, Bill quickly turned around, only to find that the monkey toy had somehow appeared in the bedroom again. "Why the hell did you bring it?" I chopped it up. It doesn't look chopped up to me." This strange phenomenon made the brothers realize that the monkey toy was indeed very peculiar. The two couldn't help but start to suspect that the bizarre deaths of the nanny and their mother might be related to this strange toy. To test this theory, Bill decided to wind it up one more time. As a result, their uncle, who had gone camping in the mountains, was trampled into a pulp through his sleeping bag by more than 60 wild horses the very next morning. At this point, the brothers finally confirmed that the monkey toy was the culprit behind all of this. To prevent it from harming anyone else, the brothers repackaged the toy into its box, wrapped it in chains, and threw it into the well behind their aunt's house. For the next 25 years, the monkey toy never came out to harm anyone again. But one night, Hal's aunt was suddenly awakened by a loud commotion. She thought there was a burglar in the house, so she tiptoed downstairs, only to accidentally fall down the stairs, her face pierced by countless needles. Auntie endured the pain and had just finished pulling out the needles from her face when she smelled what seemed like a gas leak coming from the kitchen, so she ran. She leaned her head over the stove to check, but the next second, flames suddenly shot out from the stove, and her head was instantly engulfed in fire. Terrified, she ran around in a panic and ended up accidentally crashing into the fence outside the door, where she died. After her death, her belongings were auctioned off in the town. At that moment, a young man with long hair immediately set his sights on the monkey toy that was supposed to be lying at the bottom of the well. Meanwhile, Hal, who had been away for nearly 10 years, had grown up and was now working as a supermarket cashier. Because he had already witnessed the toy's ability to teleport, Hal firmly believed that the monkey toy would make a comeback. In order not to implicate his family, he had no choice but to divorce his wife and only see his son Pete once a year. After meeting his son this time, Hal originally planned to take him out to have some fun. However, that night, he dreamed that he was grabbed by a giant monkey paw, thrown into a colorful abyss, and then almost hacked to death by the monkey. Hal woke up in shock and only breathed a sigh of relief when he realized it was just a dream. He then noticed a missed call on his phone and immediately called back, only to find out it was from his brother Bill. Hal was very surprised that Bill would reach out to him, since it had already been 10 years since they last met. At that moment, Bill also told him about their aunt's passing and speculated that the monkey toy had most likely gotten out. Since all the people who had died so far were connected to their family, Bill suggested that his younger brother go to their aunt's house to check things out. His reasoning was that since he himself was still single and hadn't enjoyed much in life, he couldn't take the risk. His younger brother, on the other hand, had an ex-wife and a son. But after the two hung up the phone, the air conditioning unit outside on the upper floor of the motel suddenly fell to the ground. A powerful electric current instantly spread into the pool at Hal's feet, just as a beautiful woman was about to jump in for a swim. Hal tried to stop her, but unfortunately it was too late. The girl was instantly electrocuted and torn apart. Seeing that the monkey's curse had already reached his side, Hal had no choice but to take his son to his aunt's house. As soon as he arrived, he learned from the real estate agent. From what the agent Barbara said, there have been a series of bizarre deaths in the town recently. First, her aunt's head caught fire and she was impaled on a fence. The next day, someone was decapitated by a lawnmower, and there was even a case of someone being scalded to death by steam. Even stranger, a boy who liked to play golf was bitten to death by a cobra that crawled out of a golf hole. After hearing about these strange ways people died, Hal was almost certain that someone was using the monkey toy to kill. He still believed that the strange monkey was at his aunt's house, so he asked Barbara to help him look for it. However, just as she opened a cabinet door, the shotgun inside suddenly went off by itself, killing Barbara on the spot. Since there had been so many deaths in the town recently, the police didn't suspect Hal of murder and just took a casual statement. After the police left, Hal received another call from Bill. During their conversation, Hal suddenly realized that, compared to finding the monkey toy, Bill seemed more concerned about whether they had come to the town. This made Hal suspect that the whole thing might be related to his brother Bill, and that the monkey toy was very likely in Bill's hands. But not only did Bill refuse to answer his question, he even hung up the phone directly. In fact, just as Hal suspected, ever since Bill discovered that the monkey would command the deaths of people related to its user, he guessed that their mother had been killed by his younger brother Hal. So, not long after, he returned to the well, intending to take the monkey toy away. Unexpectedly, the well was already empty with only the monkey toy's wind-up key left behind. Bill knew this was the monkey hinting to him that it would definitely return one day. So Bill went into hiding in the town and entrusted the long-haired man to help him search for the whereabouts of the toy. Meanwhile, just as Hal was trying to track down his brother, the long-haired man disguised himself as a police officer and broke into their aunt's house, taking Hal and his son hostage and bringing them to the building below Bill's home. However, this operation was not arranged by Bill. Instead, the long-haired man wanted to steal the magical monkey toy for himself. To do so, he threatened Pete with Hal's life, demanding that the boy sneak into Bill's house and steal the monkey toy. Although Pete didn't know what the monkey toy looked like, in order to save his father had no choice but to agree. Hal also warned his son not to wind up the toy under any circumstances. But shortly after Pete entered the room, he nearly got killed by an axe triggered by stepping on a thread. Only then did he realize the room was full of traps. Thanks to his small size and agile movements, Pete quickly made his way to the living room. There he saw Bill fiddling with the monkey toy, just as he expected. Bill didn't seem surprised at all to see Pete there. In fact, he even encouraged Pete to wind up the toy.
Turning the key is simply something the Shellborn men have been doing for generations. A tradition, if you will.
But Hal had once warned his son not to wind up the toy. Yet at that age, Pete was bursting with curiosity about the world. So he took the monkey, gently wound it up, and in the next second, the monkey toy started beating its drum in his hands. At that moment, the young man threatening Hal suddenly had an accidental discharge with his pistol, shooting a hole in the car window. Then the swarm of bees from the tree neatly flew through the hole in the glass and straight into his mouth. Witnessing this, Hal was so frightened that he immediately ran out of the car. Meanwhile, B2 asked Pete to wind it up again. But this time, the boy heard his father's shouts from outside and chose to refuse. Seeing this, Bill had no choice but to snatch the toy and tried to forcefully move the monkey's arms to make it continue drumming. However, no matter how hard he tried, the monkey didn't budge an inch and even sent Bill flying. Immediately after, the monkey, which had just refused to drum, suddenly started beating the drum rapidly, as if complaining about Bill's earlier disrespect. And as the drumming stopped, Bill immediately heard a series of screams coming from outside. He looked out the window and was shocked to see the town in utter chaos. Right after that, a plane crashed nearby, causing an explosion. As the monkey started drumming again, the ceiling of Bill's house shattered on the spot, and the bodies of several townspeople were left hanging from above. At this moment, Hal finally arrived. He questioned Bill about why he was using the monkey to cause so much killing, but Bill replied that everything he had done was only to kill his brother and avenge his mother. Unfortunately, after winding up the monkey for several days in a row, it still refused to kill him. That's when Bill decided to use Pete's instead. Unfortunately, it still ended in failure. Hal told his brother that they had all committed unforgivable mistakes, but the real culprit was that damned monkey toy. After Hal's persistent persuasion, Bill finally decided to let go of his hatred and reconcile with his brother. But just then, the monkey started beating its drum again. The next second, Bill was killed by the very trap he had set himself. To prevent the monkey toy from harming anyone else, Hal didn't hide it again. Instead, he planned to take the monkey toy with him when he left, so as to avoid another irreversible tragedy. As a typical Stephen King-style film, the monkey appears on the surface to tell a horror story. But in reality, it explores the impermanence of death and issues of communication within families. In fact, many problems could clearly be solved through communication, but for various reasons, misunderstandings only grow deeper, ultimately resulting in lifelong wounds that can never be healed. Alright, that's all for today's story.